Hello and welcome to this Affinity photo tutorial. Now this is mainly aimed at beginners, but it's looking at watermarking your images. Now myself personally, I'm not a big fan of watermarking images, but a lot of people do want to do this, and it's one of the perennial questions I get seen in many Facebook groups and sort of other places. Beginners wanting to know how to do this. Now about maybe 5 years ago now, I did make a video about using a macro to add a watermark, and I will add a link to that video in the description to this video. But basically the end result would have been, if we come up to view and down to studio, and I access the library for my macros, and somewhere in here we've got one called Watermark, and if I just click on that, that would have been the end result. So that is what would have been the end result for the video I made about making macros. So let me just get rid of the library. So again, down to studio, down to library, and I will also get rid of that because I don't need that. So there are two other ways, well, there might be more than two, but there's two other ways of making a logo watermark for your pictures without using a macro. The first one is like you're using assets, and the other one is making a brush. So we're going to look at doing an asset first of all. So let me just center that a bit. Now this is one of my own images. In fact, I took it yesterday of where I live, Walton on the Naze in Essex. And so if I wanted to watermark my own image, we're going to need the assets panel. And so again, if we come up to the view menu, down to studio, down to assets, it will open up this assets panel here. I think by default it opens up on the left, but I mean you may have moved yours around at some point and it would be somewhere else. So we just need to make a new category for this watermark. So in this sort of little hamburger menu that's up here in the right of this panel, you click on that and create new category, and that category will be called assets. And if you come back to this menu, you can rename that category, and I'm going to just call mine Watermark Test and click OK. And as you can see, this has now been renamed. So let me just go back to here, center this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new document. So I'll click on File and New, and as it's only a logo, it doesn't need to be massively huge. So I'm going to make it 80 millimeters by 80 millimeters. I'm going to leave it at 300 dpi, and then just click Create. Now I'm only going to use text for this example, but I mean if you've got images and things that you've designed yourself that you want to make in your logo, you may need to make your document a bit bigger. So then I'm just going to add some artistic text, which we have here, and then select a font that you want to use. Now let me try this is the worst thing about, there's so many fonts out there, you just never know where to. Let's go for this one here, which is Gaussian script, I think that's how you pronounce that. and just drag out a rough size that I need, and I'm going to have this so it starts from the center. I should do if I've done that correctly. Let's try that again. So I'll just center that, and as I've got snapping on, it will center. When I have it centered, it will have the red and green line. You can also center it by clicking on a line center there and a line in the middle there, and it will do the same job and center that in the middle. So now I have this made, I can come over to this sub menu of the watermark test and click on this hamburger menu, and then click on add from selection, and they will now add that into that asset category. So I'll come back to my image here. I can just click and drag this onto my image, place it wherever I want. I can swivel it around, I can resize it if I want, and say put it there, and you can leave it at that, but you can, because this is a sort of layer in its own right, you can add effects to that. So if I click on the FX icon down here, you'll open up the layer effects, and I could then make this 3D, for example, by putting a tick next to 3D, then clicking on the word 3D, and then you'll get the options for making this 3D, and you can sort of take it as far as you want. You could even take the color away, which is currently set at black, but you could take that away, lower the fill opacity down to 0. Let me just close this down. So if I then move this around, doesn't matter whether it's on the green or in the sky, because there is no color in it, only the 3D effect, you can still see the image through the text. So that is how you could use assets, and you don't necessarily have to just stick to one logo. I mean, obviously this is just one I've made quickly, but you could make yourself all sorts of different logos. Now, I am a member of a website called ViewBug. It's a free to join website, and you can display your pictures and enter competitions and what have you. But if you become a paying member, one of the options, or the sort of features that you get as a paying member, is you can have a logo designed for you. So these are all the logos that I got from ViewBug, and as you can see, there's all sorts of different types of designs here. You know, some in black, some in white, some circulars with triangles and what have you. So I'm not necessarily saying that you have to join ViewBug, but I'm just using this as an example to show that you don't restrict yourself to making assets of your logo and just have one. You could have all sorts of ones. So I can just click and drag this onto the image and make my logo that way. Watermark, I should say, rather than logo. So you can go the assets route for making a watermark. So let me shut down the assets window. Again, Studio, Assets, and I will delete these two there and center that. So now we're going to have a look at making a brush watermark. So I already have this ready made, so I'm going to use this. So you make the logo that you want to use on a plain background, so no color in the background, and then you export it as a PNG file. You come to File, Export, make sure it's on PNG, and then just click Export. And I already do have one up here, but I'll just rename this logo 2, and then save that. Right, so that is now saved, so technically I could now shut this down. And so then you come up to the brush tab, which is up here with the color and other options in these tabs up here. And much like we did with the assets, I'm going to make a new category for this brush. So again, we have this hamburger menu here, so I'll click on that and create new category, which will just basically be called brush. So I'm going to rename this category, and I'm going to come in here and call this test watermark brushes. Click OK. So that has now been renamed, and we have a blank area here because we've not at the moment made any brushes. And so now we're going to add a brush to this category. So if I come back to, well, I don't need to come back to that, sorry, that's my mistake here. So it doesn't matter what image you have opened at the moment. So you click on this hamburger menu at the top here and come down to new intensity brush, and then look for the PNG file that you made. So logo 2, in fact what I do is I'll make one of logo 1 first, so it'd be first in my list. So if I remember rightly, they pretty much all come in size 64 when they initially are made. So let me make a brush also of that logo 2. So you've got open. So now I've got the two different versions of this logo, and I will double click on the first one and it will open up the editing options. Now you can increase the size, and there comes a point where it will not go any bigger. I'm not certain where that point is. It's, you see the actual display up here, it's not altering these larger sizes, so it's somewhere around here, around the 90 mark. It doesn't make it any bigger, so I'll leave that at 90. But what I will also do is alter the spacing, so with one click I just get one version of the brush, and then click close. So then all I need is the paintbrush tool, select the particular brush that we want, and although this is now 90, you can increase the size of the brush to suit wherever you want to place this. And if I click now, it will sort of paint onto the image, which is what I don't want. So I'm going to add a layer above, and then just click the once. I mean, obviously you could just keep your finger on the button and it will do quite a few of them, but I'll get rid of that. So if I come back to the move tool, much like before, because this is now on its own layer, I can move it around, position it where I want, resize it how I want, Again, I can add effects to it. So again, if I go for the 3D option, and I mean, this also go mad and have a bit of outer shadow. Why not? See, and then I could then get rid of the opacity. Close that down, and then, like I said, you can move it around as and where you want, and have whatever effect you want. So that was logo 1. So if I do the other one, I'll double click on it, I'll increase the size to around the 90ish mark, and change the spacing, get my paintbrush, and again I could put this on another layer and make sure that one is selected, resize my brush, and I'm resizing using the keyboard, but you can resize using the width up here, but using the left or right square brackets, which is the keys next to the P on my keyboard, at least the two keys next to the P on the keyboard, the left one will reduce the size and the right one will increase the size, and then just click once. So that is 2 ways to make a watermark, be it using the assets or making an intensity brush. And like I said, there is a previous video which looks like making the macro. So basically that is it. Hopefully this has been of some help. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.